So hello. Today we are starting a new vlog that's pretty random. I just realized that, I don't know, I feel like I need to bake in a little bit more levity into some of my vlogging projects. And one project I've been meaning to tackle is to do Operation Mass Market Move Out. I don't know, whatever alliteration I want to come up with there. Basically, I've realized I have more mass markets right now than I would like. And I don't like holding on to mass markets really for a lot of reasons. Like okay, origin story, Deep Mara used bookstore origin story here is I always grew up taking books I didn't want anymore to McKay's, which is an awesome regional used bookstore. In order to get maximum credit for your used book, you don't want the spines broken. So I am a compulsive non-spine breaker, not because I think it's like morally wrong, but because mama wants the most credit possible for her books. So mass markets are the bane of my existence because they are the hardest ones to not crack the spines on, and they last the worst. And I don't know, I just don't like mass markets. I get why they're a thing. They are very handy for like traveling purposes, but I don't like them. I don't want them around unless I've already read them and enjoyed them. And usually even then I'm still looking for ebook version to replace the mass market version. So anyway, I would like to spend some time trying to get rid of or reduce the number of mass markets in my collection. So that's what we're gonna do in this vlog. I thought I would run through the ones I have because I have, let's see here, 5, 10, 15. I have 17 mass markets in my possession that I've not read. And I don't know, we'll see how many of these I can get through. So I'll show you what I have. See if you can spot the outlier in this stack. It'll be so hard to find. So first we can talk about my Nora Roberts stack. These are the ones that I'm actively getting because I do like having these as a physical reminder to myself that I'm trying to read all of her books. So I've got 7. Yeah, I've got 7 of these. So I have this bind up, which is The Last Honest Woman and Dance to the Piper. I have this one, which is Taming Natasha and Luring a Lady, which is half of the Stanislavski siblings. I have Close to You, which is Mind Over Matter and Lawless. I have Little Lies, which is 2 of the O'Hurley books, Skin Deep and Without a Trace. And I have all of the Donovan Legacy ones. Yeah, and these 2. I've got Captivated, Entranced, Charmed, and Enchanted. So I have those, and then I have a random thriller, suspensey kind of thing, romantic suspense from her, Carolina Moon. So those are the Nora Roberts ones. Then I have, let's see here, I guess 4 historical romances I could read. So I have The Virgin and the Rogue by Sophie Jordan, which is, I think, like a aphrodisiac. Yeah, it's got a love potion. This one's supposed to be fun. I heard this one was kind of banana pants. I've got Beauty Tempts the Beast, which is Lorraine Heath, who I really enjoy. And it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, which you guys know I'm trash for. We've got My Kind of Earl by Vivian Lorette. I've read one other book from her and enjoyed it, and this one is a Pygmalion type retelling, I believe. And then The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics, which I was in the middle of when I had to have that emergency surgery in 2020. So I just need to come back and finish this one. I probably should pick this to read because I got halfway through and it was good. I just got distracted. Okay, sorry. Well, no, we'll call this we'll put that in category. Okay, then I have 2 different contemporaries. I have A Prince on Paper by Alyssa Cole, which is in a series that I already know that I really enjoy. Then I have Imposters Lore by Carla Neggers, and this is a romantic suspense. So those are 2 different forms of contemporary. And then I have 3 category romances. Now, people sometimes ask me what category romances are. Category romances are romances that are in a certain line within a given, well, wait, okay. I take it back. This one is not a category romance. This is just a historical, so I'll come back to that. Category romances are romances that are in a specific line for a publisher. So they'll have like a historical romance line or a romantic suspense line or a paranormal line or I don't know, like this one is like a desire, which is like a spicier contemporary. They have all kinds of different lines and they're usually pretty short. And you kind of know, like they're very predictable products. They deliver a very specific kind of pleasure that I think has been at least supplemented, if not supplanted, by Kindle Unlimited. And yeah, they're usually pretty bonkers but fun. This one is Wyoming Cowboy Ranger by Nicole Helm, who I have read from before and really enjoyed. And then I got this in a mystery box, which was Red Carpet Redemption by Yara St. John, and I have not read that one, so we'll see. The one that I thought was a category because of its length, but now that I'm looking at it, I think it is not, is London's Best Kept Secret by Annabelle Bryant, and I think I got this as a blind date with a book. This one sounds kind of interesting. And then the last one, I thought I was getting a trade paperback from my local independent bookstore, but it turned out to be a mass market. And that is the autobiography of Malcolm X, as told to Alex Haley. I'm guessing that this one is not going to be the one I read for this, because this is not what I think of as like, I'm trying to read some of my light, easy breezy mass market books that I have around. So maybe not this one, but anyway. All that to say, I'm going to start adding these to my TBR whenever I'm in the mood for something light and fun, and hopefully I can make a good dent in this in the next month or two. We'll find out. I just thought this might be kind of a fun, different vlog, a little less work for me, good way to help me like have some intentional pacing in my reading. I feel like I have not been adding in some like sort of light palette cleansers as well into my reading recently, so hopefully this can help me fix that. Okay, so first book down, which is Wyoming Cowboy Ranger by Nicole Helm, which is in the intrigue category line for Harlequin romance. Yeah, this one was entertaining and I think enhanced in my enjoyment by the fact that Nicole Helm is just like a really good writer. I have never read a book from her that I didn't think was really well written. I think what this suffered from for me is the fact that it is just a trope combo that is kind of a hard sell for me. So it's a second chance romance and it has kind of an alpha hole hero, which are two things that are just not my fave. But again, I think it speaks to the fact that she is such a good writer that I enjoyed this as much as I did. I gave this 3 stars. Yeah, I don't know that this is like super memorable, but basically the setup is dude comes back to hometown to the girl that he left behind. They had a secret romance because their families are like enemies, and he just like up and left her, and she's always kind of like held a flame for him ever since. Same he for her. And then there's somebody from his past who is targeting her to like get back at him. And so like that kind of brings them back together. Yeah, it's good, not great, but yeah, pleasant enough time, a good palate cleanser. Good morning, my little chickadees. Last night I read and finished London's Best Kept Secret by Annabelle Bryant, and I am so disappointed in this because it actually has a trope that I've only seen a few times and actually really, really enjoy, which is a couple who is already married when we get to them on the page, but like it was a marriage of convenience, and so they're like awkward and trying to figure out how to like come together. I really like that. I think I've pretty much only seen this as I've rarely seen it in a historical. I've seen it in category romance quite a bit, where like the heroine doesn't realize that the hero is obsessed with her and that's why they got married somehow. Like, I don't know. Anyway, usually there's like money involved of like, in this case, he saved her family from ruin or whatever. This though is just not good, in my opinion. It doesn't, maybe that's not the way to say it. It doesn't match my personal tastes because he is such a ween and she is such a ninny.
I just didn't like either of them. And so I didn't care if they got together, and the progression of them getting together made no sense to me. I don't know, man. Like, this is also this cover is hilarious because, like, why does he have a belly button deep V? Why does he have, like, a 90s? I don't know. This cover is a lot. Yeah, this one wasn't good, and I'm bummed because it is a trope I like, and I could have really liked this, but I just don't think it was executed that well. And I was like, oh, maybe this is from like the early aughts, because that kind of felt like that era. No, 2019. So there you go. Yeah, not the best in my opinion. So we'll just move swiftly onward. At least I'm getting it off my TBR.
Well, hey there. I'm making myself some boba, and I realized that I had not updated you guys on the next two that I attempted to read because we have two DNFs for two very different reasons. Okay, so Imposters Lore by Carla Neggers. This is a romantic suspense, and I knew that this was a long-running series, or like at least a series. Yeah, a Sharp and Donovan novel. If nothing else, it reads like it, because it was a book where the first 50 pages, I just wasn't getting hooked because I felt like I was supposed to be caring about these characters in a way that I just didn't. And it's pretty unusual, actually, for me to feel like I can't just sort of join a series, especially an episodic series, kind of in the middle of it. But that was basically how I felt about this. I wasn't getting hooked in, so this just felt like not for me. It is romantic suspense. It has to do with like an art theft. And yeah, a woman who is supposed to meet Emma's art detective grandfather to talk about forgeries is discovered near death. Her husband has vanished. The couple's connection to Tamara adds to the puzzle. So yeah, it wasn't doing it for me. So we DNF'd this, and then we DNF'd this one for an entirely different reason. So Red Carpet Redemption by Yara St. John. Here's the problem. Well, first of all, I wasn't loving the writing. Like, I made a note on an early page. Jason had been his manager and agent for years. He was tall, lean, and always in a suit. Negative publicity could damage your image as America's sexiest man alive. I beg to differ. I think it shows what a hot commodity I am, Dane said with a smirk. He was 30 years old and in his prime. I don't know. The writing wasn't clicking with me. And my real problem with this is that, okay, so dude, like I just read to you, he's getting kind of a reputation as a horn dog. And his agent is like, hey, like, let's get some good publicity going here because we want people to be taking you seriously as like a dramatic actor who could get an Oscar. And like they happen to see this newscast with this woman who is asking for people to see if they are compatible, a bone marrow donor for her son who has cancer. And so so dude is gonna go and like get tested to see if he's compatible, get publicity out for her. Hopefully they'll find a donor and it's good, he looks like a good guy. They have an instant connection, and it turns out that he is an exactly compatible donor, which is only supposed to be possible if you are somebody's parent. And he used to be a sperm donor, so like okay, here's the problem. This little boy literally has cancer, and yet they're making googly eyes at each other, and I just cannot, I just don't believe that the mother would be into this at this moment. She is a single mother, her son has literal cancer, and I just don't think that they're gonna be like giving each other eyes while that's going on. So I just find if it was just the little boy, like, and he wasn't sick, I could be into this, but the fact that he has cancer, I'm just like, guys, come on. Now is not the time. So yeah, so these are both DNFs. I've gotten through 4 of the books I was trying to get through already. There's only one of them that I've enjoyed, that's for sure. So yeah, okay. I'm gonna pick the Olivia Waite one next because I was already into that one and enjoying it. I just got distracted because I ended up having to go to the hospital. So I'm gonna go back to that one because I know I will finish it and it was already enjoyable. So I know that will be a success. Okay, so my strategy to pick a safe book, I think, worked as the next entry in this project because I really did enjoy The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics. This was just really lovely and just pure of heart is kind of the word or the description that's coming to mind. Not because isn't sexy, but just I found both Catherine and Lucy I just was really rooting for them. They both had like hurt in their past, trauma that they were overcoming, which is not unusual, but just the way it worked, I think because it was two women, and so we didn't have the typical like historical alpha male bullshit of like, I loved once and I will never love again. Like, that wasn't really the dynamic. So this makes me want to read more female historical romance, because I feel like this introduces a different like set of tensions that I was really enjoying. I may have read like one or two in the past, but none that are really coming to mind. So this definitely made me intrigued to read more of that. I really love the science aspects of this. So basically the setup is Catherine is a dowager countess. Her husband was like this big scientist dude, and she is commissioning Lucy, whose father recently passed away, to come do a translation of this like groundbreaking work of French astronomy, because Lucy was sort of like the brain, not totally the brains behind, but like as good of an astronomer as her dad was. So this is very much reminding me of A Week to Be Wicked by Tessa Dare, or, oh goodness, what is it? Is it The Countess Conspiracy by Courtney Milan, where she's a scientist, but like her papers are published by someone else. Like, this is historical romance with like scientist heroines who are struggling to be heard in a man's world. So that's kind of the conflict, and I just was really cheering for them. I really, really like this, and I definitely feel like I should read more Olivia Waite female romances, and this is definitely the biggest hit so far of this round of trying to read down my mass markets. I'm actually going to keep this one because I liked it so much. And we finished another historical romance. So, Beauty Tempts the Beast. This was an interesting experiment of reading because Lorraine Heath is a very competent practitioner, that's a weird word, technician, craftsperson of historical romances. I think her writing is really nice. Her stories always make sense. I feel like they're well constructed. But I just think that this is a great example of where I just don't think I love sort of a straightforward historical romance anymore. It was never like my favorite subgenre within romance, but I don't know. I think some of these more just like straightforward historical romances are not my favorite. I always am somewhat squicked out by the power dynamics in terms of the gender relationships between our main characters, which is part of what I really liked about the Olivia Waite book I read, was that it got rid of that problem. But in this case, so basically the setup is our heroine's father was a duke who was a traitor to the crown. So her family has completely fallen from grace, and she is trying to scrape by and help them make ends meet. Her brothers are trying to restore like honor to the family name. Dude was mysteriously dropped off at this woman's house as sort of like a unwanted child, and so he was raised in that context. He's, sort of a seedy dude on the underground London scene. He is called Beast. And I guess part of my problem with this is that when I see Beauty Tempts the Beast, that makes me think like, ooh, Beauty and the Beast. And I don't feel like that's really what this gave me, which is kind of what I was wanting from it. But also just, I'm so constantly aware in these romances that the heroine is completely at the mercy of the men in her life, and that makes it very hard for me to just like relax and go with the flow. So that was basically my problem. So this was fine. I enjoyed it fine. I liked both of the characters. I was happy when they came together and sort of the way things ended up unfolding. I liked all of it, and I thought the ending, like the epilogue in particular, was really sweet because it fast forwards to when they're like in their 70s. And I just thought that was very sweet. So it wasn't that I had any problems with this per se. I just think that this is like a taste definer for me of, I just don't think that these kinds of romances are really my taste. I don't know that they ever really were, but they're definitely not right now. So 3 stars, perfectly enjoyable. It was fine, but not something I think I could love. And I just maybe need to live in the reality of that. So fine, but not a favorite. Okay, well, we have met our goal of reading, I think I was saying like 8-ish of my mass markets, because I have completed the Donovan Legacy from Nora Roberts, which are 4 books in these 2 mass market bind-ups. This is not a great note to end this vlog on because I did not like these very much. So I am on the record as not loving a Paranora, which is her fantasy-based romances that she does. They're not horrible well, let's put it this way. I would not continue to read them if they were not Nora Roberts. And I DNF'd one of these. So let me give you the rundown of how I did with all 4 of these. Okay, so in this Magic Circle bind-up, we have Captivated and Entranced. Captivated is the kind of kickoff, and the overall series premise here is there is a family of hereditary witches. We initially start by following 3 cousins who are the children of 2 sets of triplets who married each other. So there were 3 triplet brothers and 3 triplet sisters. They each paired up and had 1 child, which is unusual because like triplets run in both of their families. It's a lot of kids, man. And they are all originally Irish. Both sides, there's like elven, fae blood. And some of the family briefly moved to Monterey, California, and all 3 of the kids of those original 3 couples are living in Monterey. So that's where the series set up. Our first story is following Morgana, who is the strongest kind of the 3 cousins, and she's just like straight up typical witch power-wise, and she has a romance with a filmmaker who makes like horror movies, who's trying to come to her to do research on like witch things. He doesn't believe in witchcraft, but it's real. I just hate the way Nora Roberts describes magic, to be honest. It's always very purple prose, and I just don't like it. And there was a lot of that in the first one, so I gave that 2.5 stars. The next one is Entranced. I DNF this because the second cousin is Sebastian, and he's a psychic, and he gets brought in to be a psychic for a missing child, and that setup just icks me out because in the real world I find that to be incredibly exploitative, and I just don't want to read about it. So I DNF'd that one. So 2.5 stars and a DNF in this bind up. Then Charmed was my favorite of the series. I gave that 3 stars because yes, there was magic, but I felt like it was not overly described. So I could kind of just roll with it and not pay that much attention to the descriptions. And I actually really liked Anastasia, who is the 3rd of the cousins. I liked her. She's an empath, and her romance is with a new neighbor who moves next door to her. He's a widower with a little girl. She really connects with the little girl. They end up having a romance. It helps that the hero is very mellow. So this one I gave 3 stars because I liked it. Like, it was fine. Not one of her best, but I think it was perfectly good. And then Enchanted. I gave 1.5 stars too because the hero is a distant cousin of the original 3 cousins, and he is such an asshat. I hated him. And I wanted this to be the heroine's backstory of her toxic, abusive ex, who she moves on from and then has a different romance because she doesn't know about the magical powers that he has. She also doesn't realize that she has elven blood in her, which is giving her a little like minor magic. I hated Liam, who was the hero. He was awful. I did not like him at all. I gave this 1.5 stars, which is the lowest I've ever given a Nora Roberts book of any kind. I just really could not stand him. And Rowan was too wishy-washy to really make up for it until the very end. So a 3 star and a 1.5 star. So overall, I'm gonna give this series like a 2 star. Not one of my favorites, but very quick reads. So I have officially gotten 8 mass markets off of my physical TBR, and this is roughly the order I would rank them. Definitely had some DNFs. I had some things that I did not enjoy. The clear standout from this is the Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics. This is the only book that will be remaining in my collection. The rest I'm going to unhaul. I also did quite enjoy Wyoming Cowboy Ranger for what it was. Like, not my favorite trope combo, but I still had a good enough time. And kind of similarly with Beauty and the Beast, or Beauty Tempts the Beast. Not the best, but Lorraine Heath is just a really good writer, which I guess is kind of how I feel about Nicole Helm. They're just good enough writers that even though not my favorite trope combos, still ultimately enjoyable. So this one will stay in, and the rest I will be able to unhaul, which was the whole reason I was doing this, was to, I just don't like holding on to mass markets. So those are gonna go away. Definitely let me know if you guys want to see a round 2, because I now have half of my mass markets left, which are the ones in this stack. So we have 4 Nora Roberts, we have a little Rebecca Weatherspoon, we have the autobiography of Malcolm X, which I might descope from the round 2 just because a little different there. We've got A Prince on Paper by Alyssa Cole, we have The Virgin and the Rogue by Sophie Jordan, and My Kind of Earl by Vivian Lorette. So we've got some historical, some contemporary, and some romantic suspense that we could do for a round 2. And I actually really like this project. It was very successful, I feel like, in terms of accomplishing the goal that I had. I also have an idea of doing something kind of like this, like a TBR read down for ebooks, because that's another area where I tend to hoard and not make enough progress on the ebooks I've bought, and audiobooks. I just kind of, I'm very much a audiobook library user, and so sometimes I forget about the audiobooks I actually own. So let me know if you'd be interested in any of those projects. I might do them whether you're interested in them or not. We'll see. But with all that being said, Hastings is about to start his daily tripod face rub, so I will let you guys go. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below, and I think that will do it. I hope you're having an absolutely lovely day today, and I will just talk to you soon.